Hello, Superboy Beyond fans. Welcome back. We're doing one of our patented commentaries. This week, we are doing a season 2 episode. This is season 2, episode 20, I believe.
Yep.
Episode 20, Superstar. This is one that I like. Tom can't remember it.
Yeah, all I remember is that this is one of the ones that involves rock music. I think there's a concert scene at one point, and I think the rock musician is a woman, but that's about as much as I remember. It's been a very long time since I've seen this episode, and for some reason I always confuse it with Bringing Down the House. No, not Bringing Down. Is it Bringing Down the House? Yeah, I always confuse it with Bringing Down the House, which in turn I also always confuse with The Basement, just because there's a basement that figures in Bringing Down the House pretty heavily. So I always get... It's funny, and I shouldn't get them confused because I think The Basement is from season 4?
Yes.
Yeah, so it's definitely not a John episode, but so yeah, I don't remember this episode very well at all, which is why I'm quite excited to watch it. And it's good to know that you like this episode.
Well, I mostly like it because of who's playing the singer in the episode. That's Amy Dolenz.
I can't say I'm really familiar with her.
You might be more familiar with her father, Mickey Dolenz of the Monkees.
I know one song by the Monkees, which is the one where they sing "We're the Monkees." That's all. That's literally all I know from that. Wait, was is Monkees the one that had that Davy guy, Davy Jones?
Yes, Davy Jones.
Yeah, I know one song by him because he guested in an episode of Sabrina the Teenage Witch as himself and sung it. Yeah. It was a pretty good episode, actually, to be fair, and he was bloody funny in it. I know I mentioned Sabrina the Teenage Witch a lot lately, but I did just recently, I did buy it on DVD, so that's why. Anyway, should we get into this episode?
Yep. So for those of you just joining us with commentaries, if you have never watched one with us before, again, this is not going to be one where you're watching any bit of the episode. We're not putting it up. We will have a very highly filtered version right about there. That's just to keep in track with us. It's not a substitute for actually watching the episode. If you want to watch the episode with us, you're going to have to get out your Blu-ray, it hasn't been released on Blu-ray yet. Your DVD or your streaming version, wherever you're getting it from. So let's get started on season 2, episode 20, Superstar. So I'm going to count you in with a 3, 2, 1, play. So everybody get ready. 3, 2, 1, play.
Yeah, I'm not gonna talk about the intro this time. So,
do you have to say that now so that you make sure you don't talk about it?
I have to. I do. I have to say it now, otherwise I will. But I don't know. I do like the season 2 intro. And I still can't hear the intro music without hearing Andy scream. Like if I hear the theme from seasons 1 and 2 in my head, every time I hear Andy in the back of my head doing the Aah! Guess what decade this was filmed in?
1980s.
It's so obvious.
Executive story consultant Carrie Bates.
I'll tell you what, though. I like 80s rock. So I even wish there was maybe even 1 or 2 more episodes like this. I don't recognize that name. I don't remember that name coming up again. I wonder how many other episodes they've written.
So Maybe it's a pseudonym.
Could be.
Because remember, certain writers are notorious for using pseudonyms when they don't want people to know it was them that wrote it.
Yeah. I'm going to look it up and see if they've written any other episodes. But even the director, I don't recognize the name. Something Bowser. If you can remember any other episode they've directed, that'd be...
Yeah.
I can't. Apparently, this writer wrote 2 episodes of Superboy. This and Secrets of Superboy. T. Gilmore.
Yeah.
2 episodes, one of which is what? A clip show, I think?
Yeah.
So who knows?
That's
maybe
what makes me believe that this is probably a pseudonym for somebody.
Mark Jones, if you happen to be watching this commentary, maybe let us know. Did Till Gilmore exist? Or,
Yeah, because for those of us who are Star Trek fans, we know that if Harlan Ellison ever put the name Cordwainer Bird on any of his scripts, that was when he was trying to show disgust with the production.
Yeah.
He didn't want to take credit for it.
Yeah, and it wouldn't surprise me if this is a pseudonym, because literally those 2 episodes of Superboy are the only things credited to that name.
Yeah, it almost feels like an Alan Smithy production.
Yeah, that's the name I was trying to think of, but yeah. Whereas Kenneth Bowser actually is a very prolific director. Well, he's not that prolific. He hasn't done anything since 2012, but he did a fair few things before that. Mostly Saturday Night Live compilations. I guess he was a director on Saturday Night Live for a while.
Yeah. Yeah, and as we mentioned before, Amy Dolenz is the daughter of Mickey Dolenz of the Monkees. He has retired from acting.
Right. But yeah, Ken Bowser, he also directed Bizarro the Thing of Steel, which I didn't realize. And he also directed Superboy's Deadly Touch. So he's done a couple of good episodes alongside this one.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know. I thought somebody else had directed Bizarro the Thing of Steel. I thought that was one of the ones that David Nutter had directed, but obviously I'm wrong.
Unless it's, IMDb being wrong as usual.
Could well be. Like Wikipedia, it's mostly user-submitted information.
Yeah. One thing I have to mention here, we just missed it, is the scene when she and Superboy are getting out of the limo. The fact that, he gets out with her and automatically he starts signing autographs. That's not something that you normally see, Superboy doing in the series.
No, I don't think it's something that he would be against doing, but I'm pretty sure somebody would have to request it, I don't think it's something he would offer.
Yeah.
Because it's similar to, it's similar to how on like CW's Supergirl, like they reveal that, Superman and Supergirl, they do stop and talk to the people they save after. Maybe if a kid asked for Superman's autograph, he would sign something. But yeah, I can't see Superboy.
I kind of think that it's more, what the way Superman or even Superboy would do it is it has to be something very special, because just signing Superboy is kind of like, oh, well, anybody could have signed that. And John Byrne did it best in one of the early issues of Superman in the 80s, where Batman and Robin arrive in Metropolis, and Robin asks for his autograph, and he says, well, I can't just give you a piece of paper that says Superman. Anybody could have signed that. I have to make it something special. So he took a piece of metal and he used his indestructible fingernails to etch it into the metal.
I remember that.
My best Superman.
Yeah, no, I remember that. That was good. Makes more sense. And even without his finger, he could etch it using his heat vision or something into a piece of metal. something that is pretty obvious that was probably him.
Yeah.
But yeah, this is kind of a weird episode. It's funny how smitten Superboy is right from the start, but did I just miss like him getting hypnotized or something?
No, I don't think it's so much that he's smitten with her. It's that he's again being nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe he's attracted to her, but again, like John's Superboy, with Sarah Danner, he doesn't quote unquote go all the way with her.
No.
He's a complete gentleman.
Which you always should be, let's face it. And I know I bring up hair an awful lot, but man, I wish that they kept Gerard with the same haircut for seasons 3 and 4. I think that's one of the only things that season 3 and 4 is slightly worse with is Superboy's hair. I think he looks less Supermanish when he does less with it.
Yeah.
And I've always had the the headcanon thing that the reason he had so much gel in his hair is because otherwise it would mess up every time he flew anywhere. That's why with Lois and Clark, like even though they went way overboard with Dean Cain's hair, like it was practically, I think he even refers to it as saying like they literally glued his hair down because every time he flew, the wind machine would just make it go crazy.
Yeah.
They went a bit too far with it in that show, but
it was less hair and more helmet.
It almost looked like, certain shots in Lois and Clark from a distance, it almost looked like they'd shaved his head in certain angles and stuff. Like I never thought it looked particularly great the way they did it, but if anything, I would have preferred they have Clark with the heavily gelled hair and have Superman with the loose hair, because I think as Clark, Dean Cain had more Superman-like hair than he did as Superman, which is really odd. And here is the episode where we see Andy drawing the glasses and mustache on the poster.
I'm just surprised that as he's drawing the glasses on Superboy, Lana or him isn't like looking at it like, no, couldn't be.
Maybe he did the mustache first and that threw them off.
But this is almost early Andy, the way he's acting, because that little petty thing of graffitiing Superboy's face, that's something that episode 1, 2, or 3 Andy would have done. By this point, he's
like part of me even wonders if this episode was supposed to be aired earlier. Like I might have to go back and look at episodes and see if the graffiti on the poster appears before this episode, because if it's in a bunch of earlier episodes, then it's clear that this episode was supposed to air a lot earlier in the season. I might have to look into that, and if I confirm it at some point, maybe we'll make a video on it. We can make a podcast dedicated to the strange timeline of Superboy. Because I'm sure there were other occasions where that happened. Like, let's face it, Countdown to Nowhere is very clearly set before Jewel of Technical. Because it was supposed to air first, obviously, but it is funny because you see that a lot in TV from back in the day with episodic stuff. And for the most part, it doesn't make much of a difference, but if that poster appears graffitied in earlier episodes, then it's a bit of a clue.
And this is when we find out exactly what's really going on in the episode. That this lady in the wheelchair is actually, an actress who supposedly died in a plane crash. And to continue to, sing, she got this background dancer to basically
mime
lip sync.
Yeah.
Which is kind of funny because right around this time is when the whole Milli Vanilli scandal occurred.
I remember that. Yeah.
So there's references to Milli Vanilli here with the lip syncing, but it's also kind of a reference to the plane crash that caused the death of Buddy Holly.
Mm.
And this guy we've seen before in Superboy.
I'm sure I recognize him from another episode, but I can't.
Superboy Lost. He was the leader of the cult-like family.
Of course, yeah. Yeah, I can picture him now. It's funny how many people from that episode show up in other episodes as other characters. You know, one of his main henchmen in that is also one of the guys from Paranoia. And it's funny because it took me a long time to work out where I recognized him from. I thought it was another show. Turns out just another episode of Superboy. But that happened a lot. I will say this. I think the burn makeup on her face is pretty damn good for the time.
Yeah.
I would have liked it to look a little shinier, maybe, just so it looks a little more sore. But I mean, that's not the end of the world, you know. I guess I'm mostly comparing it to some of the Freddy Krueger makeups where they had certain little bits, they had shinier areas just so it looked more. This guy is so creepy. I tell you what, he probably would have made a good Joker.
Yeah. You know, the only thing about this that I don't really get is she and her henchmen are trying to kill Jessica Jones. And yet they bring him in to tell the truth.
They tell him the whole plan and then just let him leave. Yeah.
What are they, Bond villains?
Yeah. Well, it reminds me, you know, of The Incredibles, you know, when Syndrome is like, you got me monologuing. You crafty, you know. It's just something that villains do. At some point, they can't resist. They have to monologue about their brilliant plan. Maybe that's something we'll have to do in a season 5 episode. We'll come up with a villain that purposely doesn't do any of the tropes and so is actually a legitimate threat, because every time you think the typical reaction of an on-screen villain would be, just have them do the exact opposite instead of taunting or anything. Just have them act.
Yeah.
Are there any Superman villains that don't speak? Any like actual mute Superman villains that you can think of?
Not that I can think of.
Maybe I'll look and see if there's any DC Superman villains that don't speak, because that could be an interesting way to take it. They don't monologue because they can't. That could be fun.
Here's the part that I don't get, okay? She's got a full head of hair, and yet there's that blonde wig on the dressing table. What the heck is that for?
Yeah. Maybe for one of her backup dancers? I don't know. Doesn't make a lot of sense.
Yeah, and it doesn't even look to be the right color. I mean, the wig is it's like almost platinum blonde.
I'd laugh if it's just one of Darla's wigs.
It probably is. Because it kind of looks like the one she was wearing when she first appeared in the Adult Entertainment Club.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
Okay, he was particularly Urkel there.
I'm okay with, just tripping over. That's not quite as bad.
Although it wasn't quite, Urkel Clark from, the Mr. and Mrs. Superboy.
Yeah. And obviously there was also that moment just recently when we watched the episode that Betsy Russell was in. Do you want to come see my bug collection? I don't think he's that bad. Just tripping up is fine. And it's another thing that I thought the CW did well. You know, they have Clark trip up and knock papers over, and she's just like, "You've really got that clumsy thing down." And he's like, "No, actually, that was real." And it's just no. Sometimes Clark is just a klutz. I'm okay with it. But yeah, I don't know this actress from anything else, but I mean, she's very attractive. You know, I definitely don't know anything else that unless she appears in an episode of Lois and Clark later, I can't say that I would really recognize her.
I don't think she appeared in anything else, Superman or DC related, before or after this.
You did mention something that you recognize her from, though, didn't you? What was it that you said that?
Well, I know that her father is Mickey Dolenz.
Probably that then.
Let's see.
I will say this though, she's not particularly great at miming, but that could easily just be an editing thing.
Yeah. Let's see.
Amy Dolenz. Let's see. No, nothing that I would recognize her from. Oh, she was in a single episode of Saved by the Bell, the college years. I probably saw her in that.
Oh, she was.
And apparently, she played Sloane in the Ferris Bueller TV series as well, which nobody watched because it was shit. Yeah, she was in 13 episodes of that.
Did a bunch of episodes of General Hospital. She was in an episode of Mr. Belvedere in the 80s.
I know the name Mr. Belvedere. I don't think I've ever seen an episode. I only know the name because there was a reference to it in the third American Pie movie. And it's a bloody funny reference, actually. It's one of the funniest scenes of that movie, I've got to say. So, I guess it's a powerful laser. And I've got to say that was a pretty good little flying catch. They did well with that. The laser hitting her less so.
Yeah.
The actress that's playing that character,
Venus.
I'm sure I know her from something else, but I'm certain I know her from something, but I can't think of what it is off the top of my head. Maybe she just looks like somebody else, because now I'm looking at her IMDb and she's only been in 6 things and I haven't seen any of them except for this. So
maybe I guess she just looks like commercials. Who knows?
Maybe. I could have sworn.
Remember, IMDb won't list if somebody was in commercials.
Who knows?
I will say this though, for Amy Dolenz here, she at least got to have a good death scene.
Yeah.
And we all know that actors love to have a good death scene.
I will say this as well. I think that having the lights go down like that at the end, it's a nice little piece of directorial flair. Nice little bit of getting creative with the lighting and the camera. I appreciate that.
Yeah.
And here's the trailer for Knick-Knack.
Yeah, there are certain things about this episode that are really, really good. It just, there's some that are a little bit wonky. Yeah. But overall, I think it's a good episode.
Yeah, I enjoyed it. You know, I can see why it's not one that I've felt the need to go back to for a while, because it's not like it has many ongoing. It doesn't add very much to Superboy's character beyond what he had anyway.
Yeah.
Like some things I've realized, obviously it's a very episodic show. Not much is ever brought back. It's one of our chief complaints among the show, of all these characters that are never brought back that we wish had been. But I don't know. I think this episode, it does have something to offer. I think it's a lot of fun. I do wonder why the writer didn't want to be credited for it, because I don't think the script was particularly bad.
Well, again, Mark Jones, if you're watching, if you could just give us a little bit of background on this. Was this just a pseudonym for somebody? You don't have to mention who, if it was, but was this a pseudonym, or was this just somebody who, tried to get into television writing and then just decided no, they didn't want to do anymore?
It could even just be a case of maybe it's just those are the episodes written by the writer's room, where too many people gave input on the episode for any one person to get credit. So maybe they just figured they'll create a pseudonym. Maybe it's just,
yeah.
If maybe 3 or 4 people should have gotten credit for writing the episode, maybe it's just easier to credit none of them. I don't know how that works with Hollywood. I assume that anybody that contributed still got paid, though. So, or at least I would hope. There's no way they wouldn't have gotten paid, actually. But, it's one of those weird things. Either way, I don't think it's a particularly bad episode. I thoroughly enjoyed it. Am I going to rush to get back to it? Probably not.
Probably not.
It's okay. At some point when we've finished doing all of our commentaries for every episode of the show, we're then going to start, instead of commentaries, we're going to call it Superboy Rewatch, and we'll just start from episode 1 and go all the way through. So, we'll have about 2 seasons before we get to this again. But no, I thought it was a thoroughly enjoyable episode. I enjoyed it very much. It's just not one of the best episodes. Saying that, though, on the season 2 scale, I'd maybe give it a 7.5. How about you?
I would go 7.5 on this. Yeah. And I guess the 0.5 for me is mostly because of seeing, Amy Dolenz in those tight outfits.
Yeah, she's gorgeous. So that thoroughly enjoyable episode. Do hope you've all enjoyed watching alongside us. We're going to cut it there. Thank you all so much. We'll see you on the next one. Goodbye.
Viacom.